No amount of preparation is going to make me feel adequately prepared for this CIRF report. This is a big one, very mysterious, very confusing, but we have a new moon in Sag over the galactic center. Are you ready to ascend? Are you ready for the best you to come forth? I am as well. So here's what we have for our influence. We're going to be grappling against control, and with the Sagittarius new moon and that whole cycle, we're going to win. We're going to win against control because you can't stop Sagittarius. Now, what's weird about this week is the I-Ching, once again, hexagram 36, the same darkening of the light. And I think what we've learned from the last week is I think it's just very commensurate with the moon and the lunar cycle. The lunar cycle is a new moon in a waning crescent initially to a new moon, which is complete darkness, where the moon is supposed to be. It's completely black. That's the darkening of the light. But there is more darkness, if you will. T-square on Pluto, Venus opposed Jupiter. There's more to it metaphorically, so to speak. But what's interesting is there's even more darkening when you look at where the new moon is, which is over the galactic center. And some would say, I'm no expert on the galactic center, but some say that there's a big black hole. So we have a new moon in Sag over the galactic center. We're going to talk about what all that means, or at least what we think it means. And the Dreambot says it's very much a spiritual fight. It's a fight between control and freedom. And with the new moon in Sagittarius, there's no better zodiac sign, perhaps Aquarius can even compete with this, but Sagittarius does not want to be bound and held back. And so it puts you automatically, just by being in Sagittarius, on this continuum of, am I being held down or do I have freedom? I want to move about freely as a Sagittarius. So now there's also more control. And initially, when we start our week, we're going to be having a T-square on Pluto, and we'll talk about what that means. So grappling with control. I think I mentioned everything. The new moon has a lot of different things pulling on it. You have an in conjunct with Uranus. We have a square up to Neptune. We have a conjunction with Mars. And there's more. So let's just go. We have a high congruency score. I think it's going to start out with a lot of grappling and stuck in this control grid thing. But then we break out with this new moon and that whole cycle, that whole 30-day, 29-day plus cycle of new moon in Sagittarius. So let's get to it. And a huge shout out to No One You Know with not just the best comment, and I'm talking about the geomagnetic storm. Did anybody of you feel that? Did anybody get affected by maybe electronics or more physical manifestations, or is it more just emotional, mental, or maybe nothing at all? I know I was definitely affected, but anyway, back to No One You Know. Thanks for the comment, and I think you got an all-time high on the ups too, so way to go. Multiple fronts. Let's get to the Dreambot first. Here we are, and I figured out how to zoom in. Look at that. Let's zoom in, and wow, we have a lot of, the first word is controlling. So there you have it. Now, the question is, are they using food to control, or are they controlling food? In this linguistic set number 1, it says controlling food, spiritual opposite. So there are, what's really interesting is over this galactic center, we have polarities being melded together, understood. It's where understanding the continuum is one of the benefits of the wisdom that we get from the galactic center. And so a spiritual opposite is very much of this thing. Now we can probably break this linguistic apart and just say controlling food, and that would be pretty freaking accurate already. But I'm thinking it's a spiritual war. It's a spiritual battle, and it's about control versus, let's go down here, free. Control versus freedom. And all these red arrows are about the continuum. Okay. And then we have linguistic set number 2. It says losing country playground. So I think there are people who consider our country and other countries of the world their playground. And either we're losing the country or they're going to lose this playground concept. All a part of the spiritual battle, in my opinion. Now, what happened? Okay, here we go. Now, here's our big overview of the eclipse. You are here right as we do a new moon in Sagittarius. This little arrow is a little bit off, so I'll fix it right now on the fly. We have a new moon in Sagittarius, and this 29-day cycle will be in service to the bigger Libra eclipse cycle. Okay. So here's our energy graph for this particular week. We start off with the T-square on Pluto. And so control issues, grappling with control power, all those are front and center. We're like stuck in it. And then it takes a dip, and then we have the new moon on Tuesday. And this is where we'll just be cutting the cords and defeating this control through the use of our Sagittarian goals. Here's the big picture of December, and we're in between the 2 vertical black lines. Other than the new moon, we're going to describe all this stuff, so let's just get to it. All right. Here, day by day, we have Thursday the 7th of December. And the big news here at 10:08 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time, or Standard Time, is Mercury trine Jupiter goes exact. And here's the image that I've got. It's I don't know why it went down, but there's the image. It's about a navigator. He's climbing peaks. So we've got Mercury is the actual navigator. He's got a map. He knows where he's headed, but he sees all of the vistas. It's a big, wide vision. And this is a challenging landscape because it's 2 earth signs, but it's wide because of Jupiter. It's distant vistas. It's difficulty with Capricorn because Mercury is in Capricorn, but this Jupiter influence brings a lot of optimism, even though it maybe looks tough, even though you might have anxiety starting this journey, you're going to have a lot of optimism, a lot of intuitive sense of, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Very encouraging. You might have along the way some synchronistic occurrences that will help you and to gain a lot more of the wisdom that's offered by Jupiter. So that's the image. And unfortunately, it's not just clear-cut positive climbing up big mountains because we're competing with some other things, some other alignments. And one of the big ones is this Venus aspect with Pluto. So we've got these power and control issues and pressure to control and maybe overly feeling like you are controlled and trying to bust out of it. There might be this death rebirth cycle. It's a T-square on Pluto, and one of those other points is Venus. So our relationships are very affected by this. On the one hand, we have that Vista climber, it feels really optimistic. Mind is very practical. And then on the other hand, we have Venus in Scorpio and, really doubting our ability to trust people and work with them and synergize. It's just very hard. And so those two big alignments are competing with each other. On the one hand, interpersonally, we have this control, like who's controlling who. It's just like, it's right there in your face and you're grappling with it. But on the other hand, if you just go out on your own and spend some time looking at the horizon and the vistas and the challenges ahead, it might be a lot more positive, a lot more optimistic, super optimistic with Jupiter, even though Jupiter is one of those points on the T-square. That's why it's so competing. All right. Now, next. So what stays? So in the next few days, we're going to have the T-square on Pluto. So power and control interpersonally. But we have both of those waning. And even the Mercury and Jupiter is going to start waning as well. So both of those wane together, but not right away. See here on Friday the 8th, we have the waning crescent moon now in Libra at the late stage Libra is starting to make a conjunction with Venus. So today, so Friday and Saturday, both of those days will be very emotionally part of this T-square. So now I just, on the one hand, said it's starting to wane, or that alignment, that square part is starting to decrease in emphasis. However, now we've got the moon, and so things are much more emotionally reactive, back into this power struggle again, right? Here's a new opportunity that we have, and it's with Mercury and Venus. And so this is an opportunity to impart crystal clear clarity and wise mind. Remember, Mercury and Jupiter is also kind of a complete mind. So you got wise mind, crystal clear thinking, and we can actually add value to relationships, and you have the opportunity to use this for investing as well. And yes, even though Venus is sort of in a troubling, pressured situation with control, still have that opportunity there. All right. And now all week, didn't mention it earlier, but it is all week. It's Sun in conjunct Uranus. And this is going to be a big factor in our new moon, and it's going to get even tighter. It's down to, I think, 1 degree orb by the time we get to our new moon, I believe. But the archetype here, the energy here, is that the ego, the identity, the inner light, is on a tightrope. And the other end of the tightrope is being adjusted and constantly moving. And so if I'm the archer, because Sun is in Sagittarius, constantly having to, pull my bow back, but continuing to modify where I'm trying to shoot. And this will be a slight factor in the way that we handle our lunar goals for the month. I'll get back to that later when we talk about the new moon. But good news is on Saturday the 9th, this is the last day of the T-square. Although the Pluto and Jupiter making that square is very loose. It's not a very tight one, but it is there. It's technically within that 8 degree orb. So there's a pressure between transformation, and it's the pressure to make a positive transformation. And then we have dreams come into play here. I mean, there's just so much. This was a very confusing charts to put together. And keep in mind that what I want to do in these CIRF reports is, some people want to go into depth on all these different energies, but I don't think it's plausible that most people are going to feel all the different types of energies. And I would like to know, when you put them all together, what does that feel like? when they're all together, which they will be, what is that one resulting feeling like? And that's what kind of I'm interested in these CIRF reports. And that was very difficult this week because of all the different energies. So we have Neptune square Sun, and that's a very loose orb. That's 7 degrees, but it's a pressure from dreams, illusion, really pressuring you. This is going to affect the way that you shoot your arrows, so to speak. And then on Sunday, all the things that we've talked about, some of them are getting lighter, some of them are getting stronger. One's getting stronger is the Neptune and dreams. And this is unlocking insights from the waning crescent moon via your dreams. So remember, when we have a waning crescent, this is that last lunar part of the lunar phase, the last phase in it, where you're reflecting, rejuvenating. You're not spending a lot of energy. You're certainly not trying to get a lot of things done. And so this is a great time with that trine on Moon and Scorpio. So we know what dreams are primarily from the emotional complex. And so we got a trine over to Neptune. And so you can unlock some of your insights from your dreams. And then Monday, the 11th, we have Mercury sextile Venus with an opportunity there, and that goes exact at 1:16 p.m. on Monday. That doesn't mean that you only have this opportunity at 1:16. It's just this is going to be the strongest time that you have that opportunity. And when we talk about Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio, there are temptations there, and those serve with a sextile. Those serve as opportunities. So you can take the temptations and actually instruct your mental goals for positive growth and progress. And then on Tuesday, we have the new moon in Sag at 5:32 p.m. Central Standard Time at 20 degrees, 40 minutes. That is very close to the galactic center, and there is some discussion about where that is. We are well within a conjunction of the galactic center. So what does that mean? Here, I want to show you this. This is a chart we're going to use for our conversion later, but as you can see, so you have the moon and sun, and that is at 20 degrees Sag. So it's right on the cusp of Ophiuchus in Sidereal Astrology and true Sidereal Astrology. And Ophiuchus is where the galactic center is located. So we're right there on the edge. It's very close. Some say 27 degrees. Even if it's 27 degrees tropical Sagittarius, that's still within an 8-degree orb of conjunction. So we are conjunct, at a minimum conjunct, with the galactic center. And so deleting that so you can see our tropical chart only. And what we have energetically, and this is our stamp for the next 29-day cycle. It's a new moon cycle in Sagittarius. And so the challenges with that, we're going to have some challenging dreams. Dreams, are going to try to show us things that will help us in our endeavors for our Sagittarius goals. Especially if you know this ahead of time, you can start using your dreams for that end. So you can make intentional dreaming and just go ahead and force those to be useful for your endeavors. And then we have that in conjunct, as I mentioned before, over to Uranus. And that puts us on sort of on a tightrope, and in all these little adaptions, micro adaptions. Now, when you shoot arrows, they don't like all these external influences. It's kind of like shooting an arrow at a long distance, and the wind, like this sudden gust of wind, starts diverting where your arrow is going. That's kind of like Uranus in this case. And so you've got to adjust the next arrow based on that gust, which gusts by their very nature, that gust might go away. So your next one, if you compensate for it, will be off as well. So it just makes things harder. You're going to have to make more shots this week, this month, as you do the new moon goals. We have an interesting alignment here with Venus trine Saturn. And I know it started earlier. I didn't mention it, but it's on its way out. But nonetheless, it's important here. We've got a Venus opposed Jupiter and a Venus trine Saturn. So we're going to really be, relationships will be guided by sort of challenges and difficulty. It's hard to feel optimistic, or you just really want to, but just having a hard time when you're talking about finance and relationships and value and feeling beautiful. All those Venus concepts, harmony, peace, all these things are lacking, and they're hard to gain throughout this period. But that just feeds into this control versus freedom discussion. Now let's talk about what it means to be on the galactic center. And now here's the image. You've got the quiver of arrows because it's tropical Sagittarius. And what this symbolizes, these aren't just your regular arrows anymore. They're from profound influences of the galactic center, which arguably is the heartbeat of the cosmos. It's the portal to transformation. It's not just a new moon in Sagittarius. It's a new moon as the moon and the sun come together, pass each other, are at the heart of the cosmos. So obviously we're going to talk about planting the intentions for the month cycle. And the mere act of doing this will infuse seeds of wisdom from the galactic center. It's the unveiling of mystical revelations. It's the, like I mentioned before, the integration of dualities and polarities within yourself. And so you can gain a lot of wholeness. You can gain a lot of wisdom and insight and get to the next level. Then the next is to take those arrows, and as you shoot them, remember you're going to have to make slight adjustments here and there because of these gusts of wind of Uranus throughout the month. But it's not going to mean it's impossible. It's going to mean that you're going to get smarter and more wise throughout this throughout this cycle. So at this time, or during this day on Tuesday the 12th, you're going to want to make new goals. You're going to make them in accordance with what's meaningful for you, but they want to be oriented towards Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, at a minimum, can include things like travel, long-term travel, vacationing, sightseeing, different cultures, higher learning, really getting to the next level in education. It's advanced learning. It's going deeper into your topic. Can also include philosophy, can also include some sort of spiritual advancement. We can also think about it in this control thing, which means like cutting cords. Sagittarians do not want to be bound, do not want to be held back, and they will occasionally realize or come to realize and be aware of how many attachments they've had, and they will almost physically or metaphorically start cutting those cords, even if they don't know they're doing it, and run and just go. So, but first you have to sort of cut the cords, cut that which is binding you from what it is you want, whether it's just physical sightseeing, travel, higher learning, spiritual advancement, whatever that is, cut the cords. And that could be one of your goals. All right. So big energy, and hopefully I got my arms around it for you so you can understand what you need to do. Wednesday the 13th, we have really what's new is the moon now in its fresh cycle has moved into Capricorn, so joins Mercury for some hill climbing and some aspirations, maybe some leadership. And it's trined over to Jupiter. So head and heart are feeling very optimistic, very expansive. There's a lot less of squares here. I mean, they do exist. A lot less oppositions, a lot less troublesome alignments, and it's starting to feel more doable, less inhibited, right? And right here we have the waxing crescent moon, so it's just starting to see a sliver of the moon, and this is the period of time where you're still just planning, right? Planning for your Sagittarius goals. Hopefully you've already identified them on Tuesday, and now it's, sort of arranging them, and your mind being able to plan that is at its premium. The only risk here is maybe overly optimistic about what you can do. So just keep that in mind. That Jupiter is going to try to sway maybe more or excessive amounts of what you're planning. But other than that, it's very clear and very reliable. Your mind is thoughts. All right, so the influence is 36. It's darkening of the light. We found out that we don't need to be afraid of that, even though this is 2 weeks in a row. It's just the new moon. Imagine fresh darkness, the period just after sunset, or after a fire has gone out, or how about when the new moon takes place? There's just darkness. There is still much activity left over from the light of day. Movements in the outer world are at their most dangerous. Attempting to solve large problems is a sign of weakness unless there is an objective chance at success. I would say if there's no pertinent, absolute reason why you need to get a big project done in this period of time, in this CIRF week, I would hold off. I would wait until probably at the latter end of our next CIRF week, at least after the first quarter moon. I mean, you have your free will, you can do it. It just means that it will probably take longer to do and be harder. But hey, you're welcome to do whatever it is you need to. These are just suggestions. All right, let's summarize our influence, or at least try to. And here you have it. It's a big Sagittarius over the galactic center, whatever that looks like. Hopefully that picture depicts it, because I don't know. The collective toils with control issues at the onset of this week due to a T-square on Pluto. Awareness grows on who is pulling the strings. Towards the end of the CIRF week, we get a stellium and a new moon in Sagittarius over the galactic center. The darkening of the moon signals not only a new 30-day lunar cycle, but also a galactic portal. The archer stands at the threshold, ready to embark on a journey of exploration, spiritual insight, breaking the limiting bonds, and freely hurling yourself towards your highest self. So positive. Love it. All right. Now let's get back to our solution. And we start with the I-Ching. It's 15, humility. Now this is our I-Ching's recommendation for solution. Humility is rewarded in human affairs. The most successful people are those who know how to bring situations into balance by reducing those who are too inflated and adding to those who are too minimized. That's the I-Ching. So it's not humble, it's humility. And then our conversion chart, we already talked about that, is in hexagram 26 of the Rave, and it's in Ophiuchus. And we hardly ever get to talk about Ophiuchus in our sidereal modality. So who is Ophiuchus? It's the snake charmer. He is secretive. He was taught by Chiron, and I believe Chiron was the father, is now the ice planet or ice comet or whatever. And Ophiuchus is a mysterious person, a secretive, mystical, but he was taught how to raise the dead, how to cure people and bring them back to life. Apparently, Hades didn't like that because I guess that god felt like he was going to be alone if everyone was evacuated from hell or post, death. So actually took Ophiuchus out and made him a constellation. That's how the metaphor goes. Hidden wisdom. It's empathic healer, sort of rebellious, protector of wisdom, passionate, magnetic. People are drawn to him. He's got the snake. Apparently, the medical industry has that little staff that's representative with the snakes around it, representative of Ophiuchus. And very independent. So that goes along with our solution for the control and our Sag profile. Now, the rave says 26. 26 is the maximization of the power of memory applied to nurturing of continuity. What does that mean? We're on line 4, which is censorship, because the new moon takes place in the 20th degree. And censorship, that's interesting. The alteration of memory through elimination, the ability through censorship to save the collectivity from itself. The power of the ego maintained through forgetting. Isn't that interesting? So it looks like we're going to, ironically, censor how we've been censored, or we are going to reorganize what should be censored, and those things are going to be what the biggest risks are to the collective. In other words, programming that has been meant to either control or damage the collective, those kinds of things we're going to be easily forgetting this week, or maybe this 30-day cycle, actually. All right, so we're ready for our summary slide. And this is brought to you by Inner Zention. It's about inner peace. If you want astrology readings, if you want mental health counseling, if you want hypnotherapy, go to innerzention.com. All right. Here is our solution slide. And we had humility, helping one another and being grateful for it. This right to censor, that's a dicey one, because it's part of control. What we don't want to do is to try to control our way to freedom, to liberation, and to get that main objective done based on the initial slide. In this fight against control versus freedom, we don't want to be doing the same things that they're doing. We want to be out of that continuum. And so I think it's going to either be in being louder, overriding the censorship, or forgetting. And that's what the rave was talking about, is censoring what you've been taught, censoring what you were forced to believe earlier in life. And you can know that because you'll have higher wisdom this week. Then we have Ophiuchus for our sidereal, and we have a new moon. So here's our triangulation. Probably the most enigmatic and mysterious solution triangulation in the history of CIRF reports, which is a direct match to the cosmic alignment of a new moon over the galactic center. That in and of itself is very mysterious and enigmatic, and it's very polarity driven. So the spiritual initiation this week is about surfing specific dualities. These are just some that I could think of. And these are more just examples, but we need all the dualities, and a lot of them are about control versus freedom. Number one, demonstrate humility while actively censoring. Again, dualities, paradoxes, things that don't belong together, but they absolutely are together. Help and heal outward while receding and rejuvenating inward. Protect wisdom vigorously while protecting it outward in your healing arts. Listen to the whispers of the universe, that's the galactic center, while censoring anything that seeks to damage or control the collective. Respect other free wills as you would exert, enjoy, and protect your own free will. Find your resentment so you can convert into forgiveness and heal self and grow. Don't forget your new moon goals, and those are done in the tropical system, Sagittarius. You want to make some Sagittarian goals on Tuesday. All right? It's very important. All right, are you ready for some runes? I've added some explanations down here for each side. I have 2 runes. One of them is the Gebu, and that's the one I'm using pretty much all the way through Libra until maybe there's this massive need for something else. I do want to continue to improve balance, harmony, partnership, generosity, gifts, diplomacy, brokering for fair trade, negotiating, improving harmony, and such. And that's because of the overall eclipse ruler, Libra. And then we have Ansus, or Ansus, and this is because I want to maximize the energy and the wisdom and the mystery coming from the galactic center in tropical Sagittarius. And it's overlapped with the mysterious and enigmatic Ophiuchus, and it includes that duality. So there's a lot of potentially confusing things there, seemingly maybe opposites. And if we can pair those up and see the continuum, that would be wonderful. And I think Ansus is going to help me with that. So wisdom, inspiration, communication, divine power, God, ancestral God. And we get a message with Ansus, supposedly. We have divine insight. We get guidance, discernment. That's a big one for this week. Higher realms of consciousness. That's a very big Sagittarian concept. So I want to maximize all that. And I want to say, I break free from the ego mold and finally ascend to the highest me. Oh, all right. Well, how did we do today, folks? I really appreciate you being here. Please help us with a like, and thank you for all the comments getting more and more robust, more and more helpful, and it is making an improvement in our viewership. So welcome all the new folks, and welcome to the folks who've been here for years while we've been doing this and testing these new techniques out. But hopefully it's helpful for you. All right, everybody, here's the summary slide. If you're interested, you can take a screenshot of that and zoom in. And have a wonderful week. Make this a great 29-day cycle in Sagittarius, and let's kick some butt. Take care. Namaste.